Good evening, everyone, and we are back with continuing our discussion on more multiple choice questions from the Study Hub, specifically on target costing, throughput accounting, something that we had not touched upon in the last session. So let's start. Let's have a quick revision though. Manvi, can you tell me what exactly is throughput or how is it calculated?
So throughput is basically calculated by
Your voice is not audible, very faint, I'm hearing.
is it better now?
Still no, still no. Maybe there's some issue with the mic. Ishan, can you tell us what is throughput?
Yes, sir. It is basically sales minus direct material cost, like the formula for calculating.
So, can we say that throughput accounting basically it treats material cost as the only variable cost? Can we say that?
Yes, sir.
And every other cost in the short period is assumed to be fixed, which can be, which can be as close to reality as possible. ठीक है. This is an interesting question. Simple है. A company operates a throughput accounting system. The details per unit of product C are selling price, itna, material cost, labor cost, overhead cost, and time on the bottleneck resource. What is throughput contribution per hour for product C? First of all, throughput is sales minus material cost, है ना? Which is 28.5 minus 9.25. If I do 28.5 minus 9.25, how much will I get? I will get 19.25. Okay, 19.25. And throughput contribution per hour. If I have to calculate throughput contribution per hour, how will I calculate that? See, the time on bottleneck resource is 7.8 minutes. So, can I get throughput per minute? How will I get that? 19.25 divided by 7.8. ठीक है, 19.25 divided by 7.8. But if I want throughput per hour, how will that be? 19.25 upon 7.8 into 60. Okay, so this is 19.25 upon 7.8. This is throughput per minute, but we want it per hour. How much will that be? That will be 148.08 because we first calculated per minute. We multiplied that by 60 and we got the throughput contribution per hour for product C. In 1 minute, how much you are getting, and if you want per hour, then naturally divided by 7.8 into 60. ठीक है. So here I think it was the focus is all about the hour minute jumping that you have to do. And once you know here divide by 7.8 and multiply by 60, it doesn't remain like a tough calculation at all. Okay. Now, if a throughput accounting approach is used, what will be the ranking of products in order of priority for the profit maximizing product mix? If you want to calculate that, what will you do? If you want to calculate the profit maximizing order of production. Okay, so you have, and they want you to use the throughput accounting approach. For product D, E, and F, selling price is given to you, material cost is given to you, direct labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead, total cost, profit. Additional information, demand per unit, and time in process A is 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and 15 minutes. Each product is produced using process A, which has a maximum capacity of 2500 hours per period. So, what is the limited resource? Time on process A is the limited resource, right?
Yes.
So, particulars D, E, and F. चलो, so sales कितना है sales 32 28 22 32, 28, 22. Less material cost. 10, 8 and 6. Minus 10, 8 and 6. I will get throughput per unit. How much is throughput per unit? 32 minus 10, 28 minus 8 and 22 minus 6. Okay, this is my throughput per unit. What is the minutes on the, on the critical resource? How do I get that? I have time on process A. ठीक है 20, 25 and 15. ठीक है. So now what is throughput per minute? है ना? This is time on process A. This is in minutes. So I can get throughput per minute. How will I get that? 22 upon
Divide by
0.8. Ranking. This will be 1, this will be 2, and this will be 3. So what is the ranking? D, F, and E. What is that? Option D. D, F, and E. So your profit maximizing sequences D, F, and E. You have to calculate throughput per minute. ठीक है. Have a look at this. If there's anything you want me to add, please tell me.
तो जस्ट वन डाउट लाइक
हाँ.
यहाँ पे तो मेंशन था कि थ्रूपुट के बेसिस पे करना है बट समटाइम क्वेश्चन में नहीं लिखा तो फिर वी विल गो फॉर कंट्रीब्यूशन पर लिमिटिंग फैक्टर या फिर थ्रूपुट पर
Yes. Ideally contribution. In most cases, it has to be contribution only.
ओके सर
ठीक है. Okay. Now, let's look at another one. What reduction in cost per unit is required to achieve the target cost per unit? This is a question on target costing. Hera company is developing a new product using a target costing approach. The initial assumption was that a sales volume of 2 lakh units could be achieved at a selling price of 25 per unit. However, market research indicates that to achieve a sales volume of 2 lakh, the selling price should be 23.5. Hera company wishes to obtain an average profit margin of 20% on sales. The following data has been estimated for the product. Direct material 10.45 per unit, hourly production volume 20 units, direct labor cost 64, variable overheads 82 per unit absorbed on a direct labor hour basis. ठीक है. Now here they want us to, this is a question on target costing. What do they want us to calculate? They first of all want us to calculate the reduction in cost per unit to achieve the target cost. Right now, what is the selling price per unit?
15.5
Initial assumption was that a sales volume of 2 lakh could be achieved at a selling price of 25. However, market research indicates that to achieve a sales volume of 2 lakh, selling price should be 23.5. This is the selling price that you are looking at. ठीक है. Company wishes to obtain an average profit margin of 20% on sales. Less profit margin 20%. This into 20%. 4.7. ठीक है. I will arrive at my target cost. How much is my target cost? My target cost is 18.8. The following data has been estimated. Now I'll need actual cost calculation. How much is it? Direct material 10.45 per unit. Hourly production volume is 20. Labor cost is 64 per unit. So labor cost, this is 64 per hour, and in 1 hour you can make 20 units. So 64 upon 20, and variable overheads 82 absorbed on a direct hour basis. ठीक है, absorbed on a direct labor hour basis. ये कैसे करेंगे? Same, in 1 hour you can make 20 units. So cost per unit will be 82 upon 20, that is 4.1. Now, if this is the case, acha, fixed cost to produce 2 lakh units is estimated to be 6 lakh 80,000. ठीक है, so fixed cost is 6 lakh 80,000 upon 2 lakh, which is 3.40. ठीक है, so actual cost is 21.15 and target cost 18.8. So what reduction in cost per unit is required? 21.15 minus 18.8. You need a reduction of 2.35 in cost per unit in order to achieve in order to bridge the target cost gap. आपको चाहिए 18.8. Right now you are at 21.15. So how much of a reduction do you need to achieve? 21.15 minus 18.8. ठीक है? Have a look. Any question? Please let me know.
तो जो वेरिएबल ओवरहेड्स हैं $82 के पर आवर, उसमें लिखा है कि एब्जॉर्ब्ड ऑन डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर बेसिस, तो वो यूनिट से उनका कनेक्शन कैसे है? मतलब 82 डिवाइड बाय 20।
So, see, absorbed on a direct labor hour basis means that for calculating the variable overheads, जो बेस आपने यूज किया फॉर कैलकुलेटिंग द डायरेक्ट लेबर कॉस्ट, यू हैव टू यूज द सेम बेस. इन 1 hour you are incurring the cost of 64 per hour for labor, and the production volume is 20 units. So how much is the labor cost you are so how many this is 64 per hour and you are producing 20 units, and variable overheads is 82 per hour. So जितना टाइम आपको डायरेक्ट लेबर को लगा, सेम टाइम विल बी यूज्ड एज द बेसिस फॉर calculating variable overheads. That is what we mean by absorbed on a direct labor hour basis. So if you need 10 hours to do this for direct labor to work on this product, again you will take 10 hours only while calculating the variable overheads. That is what it means. And this is 82 per hour. In 1 hour, you are incurring a cost of 82 and you are producing 20 units. So cost per unit will be 82 upon 20, that is 4.1. ठीक है, चलो. What is the cost reduction that must be made to achieve the target cost? Coward Company is planning to introduce a new product. The company seeks to obtain a 25% margin on all products. The direct cost of the new product is 124.5 per unit and the overhead cost is 91.20 per unit. Market research indicates that the likely selling price should be 265. What cost reduction must be made to achieve the target cost? The company seeks to obtain a 25% margin on all product. What is the current selling price?
265।
265 less 25% margin. Target cost is 198.75. ठीक है. The direct cost of the new product is 124.5 per unit and overhead cost is 91.2. Actual cost calculation or actual cost, material plus labor. How much is this? 124.5 plus 91.2, which is 215.7. What is the target cost gap? You need to reduce by 16.95 in order to achieve the target cost. ठीक है, आंसर इज ऑप्शन बी 16.95। ठीक है,
यस।
चलो नाउ लेट्स look at an interesting theory question from this. Which of the following statements about the theory of constraints is false? It focuses on removing bottlenecks in production to improve throughput. Non-bottleneck resources should be operated at full capacity. It can be used in manufacturing and service organizations. It aims to reduce delays in meeting customer orders. Which of the following is false? Okay. So theory of constraints ka, see, it focuses on removing bottlenecks in production to improve throughput. This statement is fair. This is the correct one. It can be used in manufacturing and service organizations. Yes, this is also true. This is true. ठीक है, this is true. Then it aims to reduce delays in meeting customer orders. ठीक है, अब how can it be used to reduce delays in customer orders? See, if you are operating the theory of constraints, if you are using that particular approach, ultimately what you are trying to say is we are trying to remove bottlenecks. So if one of the bottlenecks is delay in servicing customers, then the theory of constraints will help you to remove that bottleneck. So statement D could also be true. And non-bottleneck resources should be operated at full capacity. Non-bottleneck resources should operate at maximum. I mean, non-bottleneck resources are those jahan pe there is no, they are not being used at maximum capacity. They are those, which are not fully utilized. See, a bottleneck resource is that resource जिसका you have a greater need but you don't have that much availability. Non-bottleneck resource का you have more availability but you don't need that much. See, non-bottleneck resources are not required to be operated at full capacity. In fact, your main concern is how do you tackle the bottleneck resource. So इसका answer should be option B. Non-bottleneck resource will operate at less than full capacity. See, you cannot take it to full capacity. अगर आपका there is a bottleneck resource which is because of which the production has been capped. Okay, because of the bottleneck resource, the production has been capped. Now, if you cannot take the non-bottleneck resource beyond that point because bottleneck resource is somewhere limiting your overall output. तो आप कितना भी कोशिश कर लो, you cannot take the non-bottleneck resource to the maximum capacity. ठीक है. Now, in a lot of section B questions, by the way, you might often be required to identify the bottleneck. And for that, the next question will come in quite handy. Have a look at this one. Which, if any, of the processes is the bottleneck? A product is manufactured in three consecutive processes: preparation, machining, and polishing. The time taken per unit and the total hours available per week are as follows. Hours per unit दिया है, total hours available दिया है. ठीक है. Demand for the product is 50,000 units per week. ठीक है. So let's see if we can do this. Process is preparation, machining, polishing. Okay. Now have a look at the three processes. How much is the demand? Demand is 50,000. ठीक है. अब units demand 50, 50, 50. ठीक है. Hours per unit 2, 4 and 3. So total hours required.
So 3 different products हैं.
नहीं नहीं, 3 डिफरेंट प्रोसेसेस है ना, बट
ओके.
प्रोडक्ट तो डिमांड तो सेम ही है ना. मतलब डिमांड इज 50,000 तो प्रेपरेशन में भी तो तीनों प्रोसेस में डिमांड तो सेम ही रहेगा, राइट? दैट विल नॉट चेंज,
Yes.
राइट? एंड व्हाट आर द टोटल आवर्स अवेलेबल? 1 lakh, 2,20,000, 1,20,000. To know what is your bottleneck resource, remember one thing: the hours or the resource का availability should be less than the requirement of the resource. ठीक है? This is not a bottleneck. ठीक है? Why? Because hours available are 1 lakh and hours required are also 1 lakh. Here hours required are 2 lakh, hours available are 2,20,000, not a bottleneck. Polishing के केस में 1,50,000 is the requirement, availability is 1,20,000. Excuse me, this is my bottleneck resource. Polishing process. Why? Because I need how much? I need 150, but I have only 120. So this becomes my bottleneck, option C. For any resource to be a bottleneck resource, the hours available have to be less and the hours required or resource requirement has to be more. Only then it will become a bottleneck resource. ठीक है? चलो. The next question again is slightly connected with the bottleneck resource and that discussion only. थोड़ा सा उसमें थ्रूपुट पर फैक्ट्री आर, रिटर्न पर फैक्ट्री आर वाला वो वाला कॉन्सेप्ट है. ठीक है? हैव अ लुक एट दिस वन. X company uses a throughput accounting system. Details of product A per unit are as follows. Selling price 320, material cost 80, conversion cost 60, time on bottleneck resource 6 minutes. What is the return per hour for product A? How is return per hour calculated? Can you tell me?
Input per unit divided by product's time on the bottleneck resource.
Okay. So return per hour. This is throughput per unit divided by product's time on bottleneck resource. ठीक है? So return per hour. What is return? अभी throughput per unit कितना होगा? Throughput per unit 320 minus 80, right? Divided by product's time on the bottleneck resource. 6 minutes को can I write it as 0.10 hour by the way? है ना? 6 minutes is equal to 6 by 60 is equal to 0.10 hour. है ना? So 240 divided by 0.10, I will get 2400. Option B. ठीक है? This is return per factory hour. Straightforward calculation है. It's just the 66 minutes and that calculation which was important. ठीक है? Otherwise, if apart from that there is no challenge as such in the question. But per minute नहीं निकालना है, per hour निकालना है आपको, which is why you had to convert the denominator into hours. 6 minutes is 0.10 hour. Have a look at this one. They want you to calculate throughput accounting ratio. A company manufactures a product that requires 4 hours per unit of machine time. Machine time is a bottleneck resource. 4 hours per unit of machine time. As there are only 10 machines available for 12 hours a day, 5 days per week. The product has a selling price of 130 per unit and material cost of 50 per unit, labor cost of 40 per unit and factory overhead cost of 20 per unit. These costs are based on weekly production and sales of 150 units. What is throughput accounting ratio? Throughput accounting ratio, TPAR, if I'm not mistaken, is return per factory hour divided by cost per factory hour. ठीक है? रिटर्न पर फैक्ट्री आर कितना होगा? रिटर्न पर फैक्ट्री आर थ्रूपुट पर कैसे करेंगे? अभी यू टोल्ड मी द फॉर्मूला, राइट ईशान? कैन यू रिपीट द
Yes, sir.
फॉर्मूला?
Sir, throughput per unit divided by product's time on the bottleneck
बॉटलनेक
resource.
रिसोर्स. ठीक है? सो रिटर्न पर फैक्ट्री आर इज throughput per unit divided by products time on bottleneck resource. ठीक है, सो रिटर्न पर फैक्ट्री आर कैसे निकलेगा? थ्रूपुट पर यूनिट, हाउ मच इज सेलिंग प्राइस 130 एंड मटेरियल कॉस्ट 50 divided by products time on the bottleneck resource. How much is the time on the bottleneck resource, by the way? A
फोर
company
आवर्स
manufactures a product that requires 4 hours per unit on machine time, which is the bottleneck resource. So divided by 4, 130 minus 50, 80, 80 upon 4, 20. ठीक है, then cost per factory hour. What is the formula, Ishan, for cost per factory hour?
टोटल फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट डिवाइडेड बाय टोटल bottleneck resource time available.
Total factory cost divided by total.
Bottleneck resource time available.
सो कॉस्ट पर फैक्ट्री आर, टोटल फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट कितना है? टोटल फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट इज, कैन आई से 40 पर यूनिट एंड ओवरहेड कॉस्ट ऑफ 20 पर यूनिट, राइट? सो 20, सॉरी, 40 per unit divided by 20 per unit. This is per unit. Okay, and one unit takes how much time? It takes 4 hours, है ना? So 60 upon 4, 15 will be the cost per factory hour. Per hour, how much is the factory cost incurred? 15. 20 upon 15, 20 upon 15, 1.33. That will be my throughput accounting ratio, TPAR. In my opinion, the answer should be option A. What do you think?
सर फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट में दोनों मतलब लेंगे, फैक्ट्री से रिलेटेड डायरेक्ट एंड
हाँ
इनडायरेक्ट
जी, हाँ
कॉस्ट।
जी, करेक्ट, दोनों लेंगे। ठीक है, चलो। S company is a manufacturer of multiple products and uses target costing. It has been noted that product P currently has a target cost gap and the company wishes to close this gap. Which of the following may be used to close the target cost gap for product P? Use overtime to complete work ahead of the schedule. Substitute current raw material with cheaper versions. Raise the selling price of P, negotiate cheaper rent for S company's premises. See, if you want to close the target cost gap, you have to reduce the actual cost. So increasing the selling price of P is definitely not an option. So option C is ruled out. Then use overtime to complete work ahead of schedule. If you use overtime, तो क्या होगा? Then see, overtime costs are usually more than the regular cost, right? So when you use overtime, तो आपका कॉस्ट बढ़ेगा, इट विल नॉट रिड्यूस, सो टारगेट कॉस्ट गैप विल इंक्रीज, इट विल नॉट रिड्यूस. Negotiating cheaper rent for S company's premises, it would reduce the overall cost, but it is not a production cost na, specific to product P. So this will not help in reducing the target cost gap. This is factory wide cost, not product specific cost. Substitute current raw material with cheaper version. Yes, this will help you to reduce the target cost gap. So option B is, what will basically get you the, which what will help you to reduce the target cost gap. ठीक है, now चलो, let's do another one. the selling price of product X is set at 550 per unit, and sales for the coming year are expected to be 800 units. A return of 30% on investment of 5 lakh in product X will be required in the coming year. What is the target cost for each unit of product X? ठीक है. What is investment in product X? Investment in product X is 5 lakh. What is the expected return at the rate of 30%? This into 30%. This is total expected return. So 1,50,000 is the total expected return. उसका क्या करेंगे? We'll need the calculation per unit abhi. 1,50,000 is the total return. What is my total sales revenue? Tell me.
550 into 800.
550 into 800. यहाँ पे लिखो 550 per unit into 800 units. ठीक है. This is my total sales revenue. And expected return is 1,50,000. So target cost will be 4,40,000 minus 1,50,000. 4,40,000 minus 1,50,000 कितना हो गया? 2,90,000 हो गया. How many units are you producing? You are producing 800 units. So target cost per unit. Will this not be 2,90,000 upon 800? 362.5. 362.5 is the target cost. Why is this question different? Here, the total expected profit was not given as a percentage of sales, but they described it as a percentage of the total investment. ठीक है. So, when you do that, you get the target cost per unit 2,90,000 divided by 800. ठीक है. थोड़ा सा अलग था यहाँ पे द मेथड ऑफ एक्सप्रेसिंग प्रॉफिट एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ टोटल कॉस्ट. नाउ अ थियोरी क्वेश्चन ऑन टारगेट कॉस्टिंग. Which of the following statements describes target costing? ठीक है. It calculates the expected cost of a product and then adds the margin to arrive at selling price. No, that way you are basically describing cost plus pricing. It allocates overhead costs to products by collecting the cost into pools and sharing them out according to each product's usage of the cost driving activity. This is activity based costing. It identifies the market price of a product, then subtracts the desired profit margin to arrive at the target cost. This could be target costing. This is rather target costing. It identifies different markets for a product. No, nothing to do with target costing. The answer is option C. ठीक है. Option C is basically the very definition of target costing for us. ठीक है. ये देखो अभी. Let's look at another question. This is ये नहीं लाइफ साइकिल कॉस्टिंग का था. I'll just show you the question on screen. Tell me if we have covered it or not. ये किया था हमने. Did we do this question? I don't remember.
Sir, I don't think so. We did this.
We did this? Okay, फिर नहीं करते हैं.
No, sir, I'm saying that I don't think we have done this.
ओके, फिर करते हैं. नहीं किया है तो पक्का करते हैं फिर. What is the life cycle cost per unit? Cam company manufactures webcams and is about to launch a new series of its product, the Webcam X, for which the following information is available. Projected lifetime sales volume 50,000 units. Product development cost already incurred 1250, marketing cost 1750. Manufacturing cost per unit based on the prototype are direct material 40, direct labor 26, machine cost 21, quality control 10, rework cost 3. The procurement officer has stated that material can be sourced from another supplier, reducing direct material cost by 10%. Then they have asked you what is the life cycle cost per unit. ठीक है, how do you get the life cycle cost per unit? अब see, direct material after 10% reduction, after 10% रिडक्शन, है ना, कितना हो जाएगा? 40
36।
minus 10% of 40, 36. Direct labor 26, sorry, 26. 21 machine cost, 10 quality control, 3 rework. ये क्या है? मशीन कॉस्ट. ये क्या है? क्यूसी कॉस्ट, क्वालिटी कंट्रोल कॉस्ट. व्हाट इज दिस? दिस इज रीवर्क कॉस्ट. ठीक है, 3 हो गया. देन डेवलपमेंट कॉस्ट पर यूनिट अगर निकालना है तो 12,50,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 50,000, राइट? 12,50,000 divided by 50,000, 25. And marketing cost 17,50,000 divided by 50,000. इसका टोटल ले लो, you will get life cycle cost per unit 156.0. So that is again बहुत ही silly सा question था. Just that adjustment of 10% in the direct material cost. Apart from that, there was nothing in this question. ओके, अब हाँ, चलो एक और ट्रू और फॉल्स क्वेश्चन है ऑन टारगेट कॉस्टिंग. Which two of the following statements about target costing are true? It cannot be used in service industry. No. It aims to achieve an acceptable margin in markets where a competitive market determines the selling price. It can be used in conjunction with life cycle costing to achieve an acceptable life cycle cost. It helps companies to achieve the sales price at which profits are maximized. I think very clearly A cannot be the answer in my opinion, because it cannot be used in service industries is wrong. ये incorrect है. Then it aims to achieve an acceptable margin in markets decided. So you will first of all get the target selling price. From that you will have a 20%, 30% margin. So it helps you to achieve an acceptable margin, giving you a target cost and then forcing you कि तुम्हारा जो बाकी का cost है, reduce the cost to match the target cost. ठीक है. And last thing, it can be used in conjunction with life cycle costing to achieve an acceptable life cycle cost. Can be used in conjunction with life cycle costing, quite possible, but it helps companies to achieve the sale price at which profits are maximized. This is clearly not the answer. ठीक है. So it's B and C which seem to be the, or which are the correct answers. ठीक
तो
है.
सी पॉइंट का क्या मतलब है?
So life cycle costing is total life cycle, total cost incurred over the life cycle of the product. So if you use target costing with life cycle costing, you know कि यार मुझे per unit cost has to be 20, and right now using life cycle costing the per unit cost is coming to be 22. So now you will have to plan in such a way that whatever element in in the overall cost structure is increasing the life cycle cost, you will have to make an effort to reduce it. So target costing along with life cycle costing will help you to reduce the overall life cycle cost and bring it to an acceptable level. ठीक है. Did you understand, Ishan?
यस सर।
ओके, चलो, let's see what other questions are there. This looks like a different one slightly. Which two of the following statements about target costing are true? It cannot be used in service industry. It aims
Same
to
question.
ये सेम क्वेश्चन है ना? हाँ वही.
Yes.
हाँ. A company has a target markup of 25% and sells into a competitive market where the market price is 120 per unit. The company's current costs per unit are 46 for variable, 60 for fixed, and it has a budgeted output of 10,000 units. What is the minimum production required to close the target cost gap? ये थोड़ा सा अलग है. We haven't seen something like this in the questions. ठीक है. First of all, cost add markup 25% will give selling price. Cost कितना है? Cost is 100. On that, there will be a 25% markup. Selling price will be 125. Assumed and actual.
सर 100 कहाँ? कैसे? ओके.
तो assumed number है ना?
ओके. ओके सर.
Okay. What is the actual thing? The actual selling price
120.
is 120 per unit. So this will be 120 into 100 upon 125. 96. 96 is 120 into 100 upon 125. ठीक है. So this is the current cost. Okay, or this is the target cost. Company's current costs are 46 for variable, 60 for fixed at a budgeted output of 6 lakh. ठीक है. So current variable cost 40 है and current fixed cost कितना है? Current
60.
budgeted fixed cost. Is this 10,000 into 60?
Yes.
6 lakh. 6 lakh is the total cost. ठीक है. अब right now my variable cost per unit is how much? 46. My target cost per unit is 96. ठीक है. So what is the how much should be fixed cost per unit so that total target cost is 96? This is the question. ठीक है. So total target cost 96 is equal to variable cost 46 plus fixed cost. We don't know. So fixed cost should be 96 minus 46, that is 50. ठीक है. अब क्या होगा? This is the cost that you want. Now budgeted fixed cost is 6 lakh and fixed cost per unit should be 50. So how many units should be produced so that fixed cost per unit is 50? This should be 6 lakh divided by 50, 12,000 units. ठीक है. So what is the minimum production required to close the target cost gap? If you produce 12,000 units, 6 lakh का cost upon denominator of 12,000 will be 50, 46 plus 50 will be 96. है ना? अलग सा क्वेश्चन, थोड़ा डिफरेंट है.
Yes, sir.
ओके. So I think we have pretty much covered. हाँ, सब कुछ नहीं कवर किया है, एक क्वेश्चन अभी भी है। ठीक है। मैच द स्टेजेस रिक्वायर्ड टू द करेक्ट स्टेप नंबर टू डिस्क्राइब द सीक्वेंस यूज्ड व्हेन ऑपरेटिंग टारगेट कॉस्टिंग। ठीक है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, व्हाट शुड बी द फर्स्ट स्टेप? फर्स्ट स्टेप शुड बी use functional and value analysis, in my opinion. Then you will set the selling price. Then you will determine the profit margin. Or rather, no, develop the product concept should be step one. Functional and value analysis should be step two. Step three should be determine, set the selling price. Then determine the profit margin. Then you will arrive at cost of the, then cost gap and cost of the product. है ना? ऐसे ही करेंगे, राइट? कि कुछ और करेंगे?
सो सेकंड लास्ट और लास्ट वाला रिवर्स नहीं होगा, मतलब कॉस्ट ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट सेकंड लास्ट और फिर कॉस्ट गैप आइडेंटिफाई।
So step one, what should be develop the concept, correct?
यस।
Develop the product concept. Step two, what should be step two?
फंक्शनल एंड वैल्यू एनालिसिस।
Okay. Or should it be set the selling price? What should it be? I एक बार go back to target costing in the Excel sheet or in the notes that you have made. जो अपना Excel sheet है या अपना जो मटेरियल है, चेक करो. Set the selling price should be step two. Step three should be determine profit margin. Then step four, what should be step four? Cost of product. Then step five, identify cost gap.
कॉस्ट
And step six, what should be step six?
कॉस्ट ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट। अच्छा नहीं नहीं,
Functional and value analysis.
फंक्शनल।
This should be the last step. ठीक है. So, you never know what kind of a question, what kind of a drop down can be asked in the paper. Anything is possible, and we should be prepared for tackling all eventualities. Which is why, if you want to prepare theory well, na, go to the study hub. And study hub का जो theory दिया है, just go through that theory, just read that particular theory. जितना आप ज्यादा वही वही थियोरी पढ़ोगे, उतना chances of getting the answers right in the paper will go up. Mark my words, if you prepare theory from the study hub, automatically your chances of clearing the paper, or rather improving your score, not just clearing. I don't want us to keep these small targets. ठीक है. सो मेक श्योर दैट यू वर्क ऑन दैट एस्पेक्ट ऑल्सो. जितना ज्यादा थियोरी आप करोगे ना, उतना ज्यादा आपको हेल्प होगा. ठीक है. एंड टारगेट कॉस्टिंग, लाइफ साइकिल कॉस्टिंग, एक्टिविटी बेस्ड कॉस्टिंग, ये स्टार्टिंग के चैप्टर्स है. दे रियली हेल्प यू. ओके. नाउ व्हाट आई हैव इन माइंड इज कि एक सेशन अलग से करते हैं. छोटा सा सेशन करेंगे, नॉट वेरी लॉन्ग, फोकसिंग ऑन आपका ये एनवायरमेंटल मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग. So I'm planning two to three sessions in the upcoming week. In one session, we'll do environmental management accounting. In one session, we'll do questions on CVP analysis. CVP analysis may there are a good 12-15 questions are there. So we'll take up those questions. We'll do questions on environmental management accounting. And let's see what else. So I will update the tracker also for your preparation. And then you can work on that. But make sure that you put in the effort. Environmental मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग का थियोरी, डू इट फ्रॉम ऑल पॉसिबल सोर्सेज, सो दैट जो भी क्वेश्चन उसमें से आता है, यू विल बी एबल टू डील विथ इट.